My final ePortfolio entry is a video journal about the role of the teacher as a facilitator in the classroom when e-learning. And the readings and discussion topics and postings by my peers got me thinking about a website that I've used once and I've explored in more depth called Legends of Learning. And Legends of Learning is a platform that includes many different games. You can see they're broken down into earth science, life science, and physical science. So if you clicked on life science, is what would pop up. So all kinds of different life science topics. And then if we chose one, which the one that I used previously was on gene mutations. That was in Science 9. This is what would pop up. So you can see that there are 10 different, that's a mistake, there's 10 different games in the mutations folder. And what teachers can do is they can create playlists. And so you can see this was my class who would register with a code, and I would see these green circles moving through my playlist. And here I had a pre-assessment of 5 questions, and then they played mutation creation and Oscar's World, and then a post-assessment of 10 questions. And you can see there's green and red. I'm not sure why these are showing red now that it's all over, but the green means students are progressing through the game and they're playing the game. The red means that they've opened up a different tab or a different window and they're not focusing on their learning activity anymore. Within each of these games, there are also some questions, and if I open up the data for those questions, I can see every student. I can scroll over by student, and by question I can also analyze the questions in terms of class success. And then I have the ability as they're progressing through to identify gaps in learning and to pause the playlist, that is, pause for the entire class wherever they are and review material and then continue the games. Now, what does this have to do with being a facilitator in the online classroom? And I found this interesting because, traditionally, if students are using simulations or e-learning, I might have to walk around the classroom, look at their screen. Obviously, they can quickly close tabs if they're doing something else and off task. And not only that, and you're physically standing over the student, and I think that sometimes can make learners nervous and maybe distract from their learning. My reading by Zhao was about the role of the teacher as a facilitator, specifically in discussion forums. But it got me thinking about other forms other than discussion forums, and a conclusion drawn by by this study that used two different discussion forums was that it seemed like lower level of instructor interaction produced higher level of student participation and higher level of student learning through peer-to-peer interactions. And I found that interesting, and it got me thinking about this website, which was fantastic as a learning tool when everything was running smoothly. The reason why I haven't used it since is just due to Wi-Fi and bandwidth restrictions and students getting kicked out of games, and just technically it didn't work. But I love the platform. After reading Zhao's study, I love this platform because it allows me, as the teacher in the role of the facilitator, to set the playlist, press play, and then allow students to move through the playlist at their own pace, although they're on a timer. And I can monitor from my computer. I can monitor for student participation, that is, how on task they are. Looks like Zach maybe was off task when this ended. I can also monitor student progress, and this data comes in real time, and so I can monitor success. So it looks like Nathan was having a little bit of trouble, and we might pause the game, or if I don't want to pause the game, I might intervene and we might have a discussion about this. I can also pause. It seems like this question, which I'd have to open up, obviously about half the class, this 3 or 4 questions here, half the class got them right, but also half the class got them wrong. So that would be a good moment to pause and intervene. But it means that I can stay hands off. I can stay away from the students. I don't have to hover over them. I don't have to intervene and allow them to explore learning at their own pace. Now, one of the criticisms I had of the website is these post and pre-assessment questions I wasn't able to create on my own. They were pre-done. So, for example, what is any change in a gene or chromosome called? It's good that my students had success for that because that was our topic. Which of the following is an example of a neutral mutation? So neutral mutation, although it arose in the game, we hadn't previously learned about that, but I have no control over those questions. So the Zao reading got me thinking, although this is a great platform for me backing off and allowing students to learn while still monitoring their progress, maybe what I would do is instead of using these pre and post assessment questions, is if I set up a discussion platform, possibly through Google Class, with a couple of key questions, especially any questions that can have students discussing the game, discussing results, or say even directing students to go to the discussion platform to initially post their score, which would engage students and motivate them, and then follow it up with a discussion question. I would be able to pause the playlist and pause the students' progress for the whole class at any point, and then direct them to Google Class where they could proceed to participate in the discussion forum. So in summary, it seemed counterintuitive to me in the reading that a higher level of teacher presence led to lower level of student participation and student learning. But I'd be interested to read more studies on this to see if it is further supported. And actually in using the Legends of Learning platform did suggest that the study was accurate and that conclusion is accurate. And in the future, the issues, the criticisms, other than technical difficulties that I had with the platform, being the questions being determined by Legends of Learning and I'm not able to input my own questions, then I can remedy that by pausing the playlist for the whole class, directing them to a discussion forum where hopefully I can engage students in effective learning by following the methods outlined by Zhao and outlined on our discussion forum in week 4 by my peers.